Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene, episode 301. Today's date, March 15, 2022. Russia takes off the gloves. Pentagons, plural, Stargates. And beware of the Ides of March. We learned from Shakespeare and most recently from Cliff High. So Let's get started. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscriber, Florida Maquis, Michael Jaco, X22, Regis Tremblay, a bad wolf, a new source I'll give to you. And I'd like to say thanks, like, subscribe, and share. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. I'd like to say thanks for all your words of encouragement and support for my channel. And I'd like to welcome all 50 states, including Alaska, Hawaii, First Nations, Cherokee, Navajo, Hopi, Chickasaw, Mohawk, Apache, First Nation, Pitt River in California, Mohegans, Yakama Nation in Washington State, Potawatomi in the Midwest in Oklahoma, Ojibwe Nation in northern Minnesota, a proud people who want peace and justice, Choctaw, Abenaki, Cheyenne, Massanutten, Pequot, Blackfoot in Montana, Spokane, and Coville. And we say welcome. And I say welcome to the nations of Canada, England, France, Ireland, Philippines, South Africa, Netherlands, also called Holland, Indonesia, Scotland, Germany, Switzerland, New Zealand, Maldives, Nepal, Norway, Australia, Chile, Thailand, Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Panama, Guam, a U.S. territory, Jamaica, an Icelander living in Spain, and other people in Spain, Wales in the U.K., Sweden, Italy, Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory, Romania, Bermuda, Bahamas, British territories, Morocco, Argentina, Northern Marianas Island, a U.S. territory located close to Australia and New Zealand, Denmark, Bolivia, Uganda, Iceland, Serbia, Bulgaria, Mauritius, a small island off of Africa, and the latest, Ukraine. So let's get started. Okay, I have a Patriot subscriber. It's talking about the truckers in the U.S. They're located close to Hagerstown and a speedway, and they've been circling D.C. They have 70 plus convoys, 3 in Hagerstown and 4 in Dominion, Virginia. And they have thousands of people out there. They've set up a kitchen, and they have a med trailer, and they have fires and meetings in the morning and the afternoon. So it's good. It's a very positive protest by the American people. I have another Patriot subscriber. I had several Patriot subscribers in my latest video. I was talking about 3 individuals who went to Ukraine in 2014, 2015 to stand shoulder to shoulder with the militia that's made of mercenaries and other people paid for by the shadow CIA. And that was John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and Amy Klobuchar. And I said that John McCain passed away, and I had several Patriot subscribers said, no, he didn't just pass away, he was executed, which is correct. He was executed, had a military tribunal, and was executed by the military for treason. I said it's 2022, so 2020, maybe? All right. Mr. MBB333 continues to bring this out, which I believe is important, and we'll see this in the future having an impact on global weather, because he consistently is bringing this out. Mr. MBB333. So like March 13, a UV, a measurement of what the sun is doing, is about 11 something, which you would normally see in the summer. So now this correlates with information that came out recently from Peter the Insider with the ACIO that around Earth we have an electromagnetic shield that comes from inside the Earth and then surrounds us, protects us from UV. Well, that's been going down for decades, and it's become noticeably weaker in the past year or so. So this correlates with what Mr. MBB is bringing out. Now, Michael Jaco had some people on his recent show, and they were bringing out different information on Michael Jaco. He was a SEAL for 24 years, worked for the CIA for 11 years, and while he was a SEAL, had an interesting experience with the Archangel Michael. Michael Jaco was actually killed in combat, and the Archangel Michael came to him, pushed time back, stood over him, and shielded him from the missile that would have killed him. So, yeah, Michael's bringing forth, some good, solid information. Very truthful. Okay, Jacob. Now, what's coming out is President Trump, on many of his rallies, would talk about China. And now we have a couple of, I have another source. So one of the locations in Ukraine, one of the biolabs, it's actually in China, Ukraine. And this is Spills, China. It's like a little dash there. So President Trump was bringing out in his rallies, knowledge of about a biolab in Ukraine, China. And it also is connected with the virus that we saw come out in 2020 also. All right. So now, supposedly there's going to be 4 locations come out for the biolabs. And we know that Cliff High recently brought this out. Other sources are bringing this out. 336 biolabs in the world. And they're in 30 nations. So we can see the liberation effort by Russia spreading, and other white hats from other nations in the alliance. Well, the alliance is good. President Trump, the alliance, is currently working with President Putin in Russia to clean up these biolabs. Okay, so now the next 4 locations we can see, we've seen Ukraine, and we know that China is going to go into Taiwan, Taipei, soon. There are bioweapons there. Now, 4th location is going to be somewhere in Australia. So we have Ukraine, China, Taiwan, and Australia. So we can look, and the current effort in the Ukraine is going to be spreading to other nations around Ukraine. That would be Poland, Romania, plus. So we can look for that happening. And what they're doing is going in and taking out these biolabs. All right. Yeah, 4 places. Ukraine, China, Taiwan, Australia. All right. Now, we're hearing about the Queen being dead And she was executed too in 2019, I think. But it's going to become public, and information is coming out that flags have been made in China showing her date of birth through 2022. So those are coming out and will be part of the celebration, part of the memorial for the Queen of England very soon. Yeah. So word is officially coming out. Now we also are hearing this, that the former President Obama is positive for the COVID. This is another public announcement of bringing out about President Obama. Of course, he's also in the past been arrested. Okay. Now, we're having more information come out about England, about the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, that was all a fake story. And we've heard in the past that Princess Diana was actually, her death was staged, and she went into witness protection aided by President Trump and JFK Jr. When she did, she took her two sons, neither of which were fathered by her husband. She had one son fathered by a security guard, one of her security people, and one was fathered by the elder king of Spain. Now, Princess Diana was part of the bloodlines, and we know that people are coming out now who were part of the original nobility bloodlines of many nations, as Princess Diana was, who in the past were killed by the cabal, and the cabal tried to come in and take their place. Now, we know in Russia, we had the Tsar family, but there was two daughters who lived apart from the family in the event that all of the family was killed. And one of the daughters had a daughter and a daughter, and that last daughter was Melania Trump, who is recognized officially as the bloodline of the Tsar family in Russia. So now we have X22 talking about the deep state has lost in Ukraine. And he's bringing forth this report that, in China, Taiwan, there are biolabs. They have foreign mercenaries in the Azov group, funded and trained by the shadow CIA in the U.S. Now, he's bringing, his important reporting is there are no soldiers, regular citizen soldiers left in the Ukraine army. And recently there was a dust-up between Russia going in to take Kiev, and the two Ukraine soldiers killed were actually officers. And this is what X22 is bringing out. There's no regular soldiers left in the Ukraine. So there's no fortifying an army because the army has gone. So now in Being News, I heard this on some channel that NATO was sending 50 warships near Russia. Well, I looked into this. This turns out to be a military exercise called Cold Response that was planned years ago, and it's taking place in Norway. Russia was contacted for them to send an observer if they liked. They declined. So it's called Cold Response. It's a military exercise. It's going on in Norway until April 1 and involves 25 countries, 200 aircraft, 50 warships, 30,000 allied forces. It's a regularly scheduled military exercise. Now, I had a Patriot subscriber who gave me a news source. It's called Bad Wolf, and he's on Rumble. And my perception is he works for the government, U.S. government in some capacity, but he's living in Russia and reporting from there. He did have an interesting video on that took place in Ukraine, and the location was not specified, but he had video of the local people, and they were talking about Ukraine had come in with a tank and was shooting at the houses in the village. Then they jumped out of the tank and ran away. And the lady talking said, then our lads went into it and they found a Russian uniform. And she said, I guess the Ukraine army thinks that we, the people, are stupid. I mean, we stood there and watched them bring this tank in, shoot at a few houses, jump out and run away. Do they think that we're going to believe this was Russia? No way. All right. And they're also talking about the biolabs in Ukraine having associated with the Biden family. Now, the Biden family also owned an island right next to Jeffrey Epstein's island in the Virgin Islands. Do you think there's any ties there? I think so. All right. Now we have this is Beforeitsnews, Patriot Underground. And he's bringing out Russia is fighting in Ukraine. They're fighting the deep state. And their surrounding cities and the militia group, far-right militia group, trained and aided and put in place by the Shadow CIA and Shadow M6 from England. Okay, and they have Blackwater mercenaries, and it says Russia is beginning to bomb NATO convoys who are trying to, I submit to you, these, okay, Russia's bombing. These are not NATO convoys. These are deep state convoys. Do you think that God, President Trump, the alliance, the Space Force can't look down and know who's trying to get in Ukraine? They know it's not NATO. It's the deep state trying to masquerade itself. And they're being taken out, of course. All right. Now, he's talking about biolabs in Ukraine. Biolabs 30. That's just in Ukraine. And Patriot Underground, yeah, the JB actor has no control over the U.S. military. The mainstream media is complicit, yeah, in staging events. He was showing some clips of the mainstream media going in like they've done in many wartime situations. They have a certain story they're going to put out. So they go to the war area, they bring in crisis actors, then they stage stories and then put them out on TV and say, this is what's happening. All right. And also, China, a city in Ukraine. Yeah. All right. Phil Godlewski, Patriot Underground, is reporting from Phil Godlewski. Recently, we heard about President Trump having a problem with the plane. Now, initially I believed it was a Trump plane, but it turns out it was the plane that belonged to one of his donors. And there was a problem with an engine that went out. And then his security people were alleging it was sabotage or an attempted assassination. President Trump, we understand, was livid, and he fired some of the Secret Service people, and he's interfacing, or information's going to be coming out from Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, who were cautioning President Trump to wait and let things take place. President Trump, livid after the attempted sabotage or attempted assassination. No, the timeline is going to be accelerated. And we say, bring it. We're ready. Okay. And Patriot Underground is putting this forth. God intervened and the life of President Trump was saved. And we say, Father, bring it. We're ready for President Trump to return and a form of government to take place in this time of global distress. Okay, here's another source. Okay, this is Regis Tremblay. He's an American expat who lives in Crimea, Ukraine. And he's bringing this forth, that the biolabs in Ukraine, they were collecting blood, DNA, and then they were using gain of function. This is what you do when you take a virus in a lab, and it's always called gain of function, and that means always it's a bioweapon. You're changing it. Okay. And he interviewed a former college prof who taught law, Francis Boyle, who also brought forth in 1983 the first structure that was actually passed in 1989 by the U.S. Congress, and that had to do with a law regarding bioweapons. So Francis Boyle has been very knowledgeable from a legal standpoint of bioweapons since the early 80s. And he's saying that there's a map for the biolabs in Ukraine, and they have documented that it was paid for with U.S. money, and that the objective for the biolabs in Ukraine was to harvest Russian Slavic DNA, and they want to kill white Christians. Now, the Slavic population in Canada and the U.S. is about, in this area of Canada and in about this area of the U.S. Northeast for Canada, that's going to be Northwest. Millions of Canadian citizens and millions of American citizens. Yeah. And they were making this special virus to take us white Christians out globally. Okay. And Francis Boyle is bringing this out, and we've seen this association recently. Victoria Nuland was in Ukraine in 2014 when they took the president down in Ukraine, the Ukrainian president, and replaced him with Zelensky. Now, I had a Patriot subscriber whose wife's family is from Ukraine, who witnessed Victoria Nuland in 2014 in Kyiv, outside the capital, passing out cookies, while the snipers got in place to kill the Ukrainian citizens who were protesting the coup that was taking place. And just think, we just saw her a few days ago being questioned by Senator Rubio. So Victoria Nuland is still working in the U.S. State Department. How's that working for you? Okay, so this Francis Boyle, a retired law prof, is substantiating another source for that. Yeah. So then, he's also talking about, the U.S. has been involved in paying for bioweapons. Victoria Nuland advocates bioweapons 2014 coup involved in Ukraine. Yep. All right. A Patriot Underground. This is Carrie Cassidy, and she's talking about, in my last video, I was bringing out that something's going on with this blue and yellow colors being presented in different scenarios. So now, Carrie Cassidy is saying that it supports, or it was part of the COVID story, and that yellow and blue are colors associated with the U.S. Democratic Party. So, we'll see how this comes out. We're still wondering about these use of colors. Now, Dr. William Mount saying Lindsey Graham. Now, Lindsey Graham was one of the three we saw in 2015, 2016, standing shoulder to shoulder with the Azov and pledging money to support them. Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Amy Klobuchar. Okay. Now, Dr. William Mount is talking about U.S. jets falling out of the sky in Ukraine. So, I mean, how could we have U.S. jets there? They couldn't be associated with our military. So, what's going on? And so, now he's bringing this out, what Russia has done, a report on Russia, what they've taken out. And they've taken out in Ukraine, they've taken out 4,000 command centers, 143 U.S. drones, 1,267 U.S. tanks. I mean, this is the U.S. equipment that we gave to the Ukraine army. Okay, 124 missile launchers, 457 artillery pieces, 1,028 special military vehicles, jeeps that are really have a lot of equipment on them. Now, so he's saying that he condemns. This is the no, he's talking about Russia. The objective of Russia and Ukraine, we know, is to take out military objectives. That includes the biolabs, and to take out Azov and the mercenaries that are there. All right. So, that are being supported, according to Dr. William Mount, by the shadow parts of the Five Eyes governments: U.S., Canada, England, New Zealand, Australia. The shadow parts. Okay. All right. So now, India is making a deal to buy oil from Russia, and Russia is selling weapons to India and China. This is coming out from Dr. William Mount, and this was also put forth by Cliff High a couple of days ago. Globally, we have 336 biolabs in 30 nations. And I submit to you that this liberation action by Russia currently going on in the Ukraine is going to spread to 29 other nations, all in an attempt to take out the biolabs that are generating ways to kill people based on their genetics. Okay, now Russia has put forth a complaint to the UN regarding Ukraine and their effort to produce bioweapons that were genetically based on the Slavic people. And they had that gain of function. Now, this is some of the things that they were putting forth for their gain of function with the bioweapons aimed at the Slavic white Christians. H5N1, which has a mortality of about 50%, and plague, and anthrax. So yeah, put those things together, spray them, release them in an airborne situation. Yeah, it can be bad for the people living there. But we know that we're wonderfully made by God, and it's amazing how our immune systems are so resilient and strong. All right. Regis Tremblay is also bringing this out, that who's in charge, and he interviewed Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter is the U.S. Marine Intel. He has about 30 years experience. He's worked in Russia. He's a weapons inspector for the UN. Okay. Russia. Their strategy is to liberate Ukraine. And Scott Ritter is saying that President Zelensky was just part of the script put forth by the shadow CIA at M16. And Scott Ritter is saying Russia is going to take the gloves off now. So, we say, Father, bring it, because we believe this is a righteous prosecution against evildoers, and that it is God, President Trump, the alliance, President Putin, and other nations aided by the Space Force moving forward to liberate peoples all around the globe and take the deep state down. And we say, bring it. Okay. Now we'll move on to sci-fi. Okay, this is coming out by Florida Maquis. Okay, he's talking about the Pentagons. This is the plural, Stargates. So, ever since World War II, the Pentagon has been actively involved in the secret space program. It's no longer secret. We know about it now. So, Florida is bringing this out about some locations, and then I'll give you some additional information on these. Okay. So, he's talking about in the Pacific Ocean. It's a small island. I think he's calling that Maquis. And then there's a location. Here we go. This is Africa, Morocco. This is Marrakesh. So he's just putting these together. That there was a Pentagon in this area and in this one, and also in South America. Now in Brazil, there's the Pentagon also here. Now, some information that God gave me, I don't know, a couple of years, 2020 when I started this, that there were pyramids here, and actually around Ukraine, we found out, here's Crimea, there's a little peninsula here, Odessa, Russia. Okay, pyramids. Pyramids here, pyramids here, pyramids here, pyramids here. Okay. So the pyramids were an energy generator and also a marker of where Stargates are. And the Pentagon is also on the moon. It's in Brazil. It's in other locations. And this marks Stargates. So we have one in Washington, D.C. We know we have one in Brazil. There are other locations. This one is in the Pacific that Florida Maquis is bringing out. They're also on the moon. They're Stargates. Okay. So now, this one in Brazil, and then we have Ukraine. And recently I put out that video about the Ark ships. So there's one, or I think there's two, maybe three in Brazil, because what God showed me was Brazil is a key, South America is a key part of the globe where activities are going to be taking place. Like the pyramids in Brazil are primary to the pyramids in Egypt in terms of energy and strength of Stargate. So, and then we saw the two Ark ships, one in Kherson and one in Kiev, and then there's one in Russia too. So these were buried on the earth thousands of years ago, and now they're being activated. And part of the liberation effort by God, President Trump, the alliance, Russia, China, Chairman Xi, going forth to liberate the earth, has to do also with the activation of these Ark ships. Now, I think I did not mention that soon China is going to take over Taiwan, which is a uniting, and they're going to take out the biolabs in Taipei. So let's look for that to be happening. So that's going on. Oh yeah, and from that South America, that Pentagon in, I think that might have been 2021, in Nashville, Tennessee, in December, and I think that was 2021. Nope, I think that might have been 2020. We had an explosion that was in an AT&T building. The deep state had hired someone to go in, plant a bomb. Then the deep state had another shooter to take out the person who planted the bomb. But the White Hats were aware of this situation, which was supposed to be a small nuke explosion in Nashville, Tennessee in December of 2020. And the White Hats, according to Gene Decode, took it out and minimized the damage with a thermobaric bomb. Now, from here, from Nashville, there were multiple sources, Gene Decode and Mike Adams, tying it back to this location, this Pentagon location in Brazil. So, the plot thickens, doesn't it? And now we'll move on to look ahead. Yeah, we want to look ahead. We're calling this the Ides of March, and according to the Webbot data of Cliff High, the Ides of March. From Shakespeare, we know this is typically March 15. According to the Webbot data of Cliff High, it's supposed to be something great happening. Well, we say bring it. Okay. ShariRaye is also talking about President Trump and the plane incident. And she's bringing out some specific information that she understood it was a Dassault Falcon 300, which has 3 engines, and one went out. And she's stating it was not Air Force One, and it was not the Trump plane. It belonged to a donor. Or it could have been a Lockheed Jetstar. At any rate, it's believed that what happened was sabotage, or was an attempted assassination attempt for President Trump. ShariRaye is bringing this out. President Trump is livid and is accelerating whatever the plans were going to be for the White Hat. So we say, bring it. We're ready. Okay. Yeah. So military sources inside the Trump camp. President Trump is peed. And he's fired some of his Secret Service people. And now we're switching to Ukraine. Chernobyl, the nuke plant, and that's in Kyiv is the capital, and then there's Chernobyl, right on the border with Belarus. Now, they went into Chernobyl and went down 4 floors, found thousands of young humans, some living and some not living. Okay. And other things, weapons, and drugs, and stuff. Okay. So that's going on. Russia is liberating Ukraine. Okay. And so far we know that DARPA, the shadow part of the Pentagon, has paid out in money $1.5 trillion to Ukraine to put in those biolabs, and is saying that the Chernobyl is leaking radiation. So, I'm sure that God, President Trump, the Alliance, President Putin, and others are going to be able to successfully seal Chernobyl. Now, right, and ShariRaye is bringing this out that in the past, in 2021, arrested President Obama, Michelle Obama, General Miley, and other generals, Dr. F. And is Zelensky in Miami? Inquiring minds want to know. Now she's talking about some other factors with the November 2020 event we had in the United States, still investigating in multiple states. And on March 11, there was a statement from Russia, no submitting to NATO. Yeah, I would think not. Okay. So, what we can do now is understand that President Trump is accelerating the timeline. And recently we had information that April showers will bring us May flowers. So we look ahead to President Trump returning. And Gene Decode said the probability was, May, 50% and up. So it looks good. All right, a short prayer. Here's the cleansing prayer modeled by Gene Decode. We remove permission to be in us, on us, and around us, on earth, off-world, any dimension, any person, place, or thing not of God, any assemblage of fallen angel, AI, nanobot, and other forms of tech, any non-terrestrial species, spirit, thought form, operating system, genetic overlay, past, present, and future. And we say, get away from us in the name of Jesus. Now, this prayer is based on the Passion Translation, Psalms 19, and it's entitled Stars. God's tale is written in the stars. Space speaks every day of his story. His truth can be seen in the starry sky at night. The heavens show God's creation skill. Every day, the sun rises. Every night, the moon shines. Signs of God's craftsmanship. Everywhere is the gospel clearly to be seen, read, and experienced. God's word is perfect, giving us revelation, light, and wisdom, showing us the paths to take and which to avoid. And we say thank you, Father, Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit. And I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.